Today's podcast is brought to you by Energy Bits. To add more life to yours one bit at a time, go to energybits.com and enter the promo code PLANTRAINERS at checkout to get 20% off your order. And now on to the show.
Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are
Propelled by Plants. Today we bring to you episode 223, Self-Empowerment with the Badass Vegan, John Lewis.
In today's episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, we talked to John Lewis, aka Badass Vegan, about self-empowerment. We first got to know John when he was here in Toronto, and we hung out and had some Indian food, and he's a very fun guy. During the podcast, we look into some of the adversity John faced in his life and explore how self-empowerment or mindset helped frame the situation and make him the man he is today. John is a charismatic, passionate vegan who has a good understanding of the need for self-compassion in the ways of nutrition and fitness. We really enjoyed that John was an open book and hope he can inspire you or someone you love to take control of your goals and make some changes. So please share this episode with someone you know who will benefit from it.
Born in Little Rock, Arkansas, John grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. At a young age of 13, John found himself at 315 pounds, but through the hard work and dedication, he lost the weight and he excelled in football and basketball. He continued his athletic streak of excellence throughout his high school and college years in McCluer Senior High in the heart of Ferguson, Missouri, and Harris-Stowe State College. Graduating with a bachelor's degree in marketing, he later went on to pursue his MBA from Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. John's education in business, coupled with his love for health and fitness, gave him the ability to start his awesome venture, Badass Vegan, which is a health and nutrition company striving to educate individuals on plant-based nutrition. John's love for his community brought forth the brainchild of VeganSmart, which is a plant-based protein shake company whose mission is to prevent obesity through education, physical activity, and plant-based nutrition. He's really excited about his upcoming documentary, Hip-Hopocrates, or as you'll hear in this podcast, another name possibly, in which he's teaming up with the makers of Cowspiracy and What the Health. And the goal of their new documentary film is to speak about food injustice through the lens of hip-hop.
The problem with this time of year is that people really want to make a difference in their life. They want to start exercising, they want to start eating well, and they see that the holidays are around the corner. So what's the problem, you might ask? They're scared. They want to look good for the holidays for when they see their family. But if they start their new lifestyle now, what happens when holiday parties come and they have to eat at their friends' houses and go and eat with family as well? It's just going to be too much overwhelm to navigate all of that. So they wait till January for New Year's resolutions. But let's face it, that never really comes. So basically, there's two kinds of people. People who are ready and willing to make a difference right now, and people who are just going to continue to make excuses. So if you're looking to make a change, which category do you fit into? If you're the type of person who is ready and willing to commit to making a change right now, you can have two choices. Perhaps you're looking for one-on-one coaching that's going to help make small changes over time, that's going to make big impact and help you stick with it long term, like so many of our clients. This will keep you making healthy choices throughout the holidays. Or perhaps you're like one of our clients, Jen, who does a check-in every 2 or 3 months to see what she can do a little bit better, create a new meal plan for that season, and really take action on what she learns during our calls together. If either of these people sound like you and you're ready and willing to make a change starting right now, email us at info@planttrainers.com and let us know what your biggest, boldest goals are. We'll get in touch with you personally and help you decide on your next steps.
And now for a moment of gratitude.
Today I'm grateful because we received an email from OS who told us that she has arthritis and her daughter has MS, and she's been listening to the Plant Trainers podcast for quite a while. And she takes action on a lot of the steps that we give, and she's been following us, and she's really made a big difference in her life and in her daughter's life. They're living with less pain, with less agony, and I'm just so grateful that she reached out and let us know.
I'm grateful for the opportunities that we had this week. We went to visit some friends, we had great meals with them, and we went out for dinner with some family. It's been a really great week in that respect, and I'm just grateful for it.
John Lewis, aka Badass. Thanks so much for joining us on the Plan Trainers podcast today.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. Sorry for the delay, but we're here now.
We're here now, and that's all that matters, and that's all that counts. And we're grateful that you're here with us. And we wanted to know if you have a moment of gratitude that you'd like to share with us and our listeners.
My moment of gratitude really is just for the amount of support that I've been receiving over the years. Like I've never taken it for granted, and it still baffles me how much good energy you put out. It really does come back, and I've seen it flourish just over the years. And I encourage everybody to look for doing that. If troubled times kind of hit you, just keep putting out good energy, and I swear it's gonna come back. It might not be instantaneous, but it's coming. So that's my moment of gratitude, is for the love and support that I've been receiving over the years.
So you sound like a really nice guy. I mean, like, we know you're a nice guy. We hung out here in Toronto. I hung out with you in LA a couple of weeks ago at the Veg Fest down there. But you call yourself Badass. So what's that all about?
Well, Badass is it really came about my mom when I was a kid. She used to call me Badass all the time, and between badass and fat ass, because I was always in the kitchen. I had ballooned up to like 315 pounds my freshman year in high school. So I had got up there, but the badass just came about. I wanted to change the way that badass was perceived. I wanted it to be about, you could love the earth, you could love the planet, you could do good things. And that's really being a badass, like, and not backing down to like the wrong things of this world. That's being badass. So that's what I wanted to do. And the other thing was, right when I started my YouTube channel, when I was doing the P90X infomercials and all that stuff, somebody was like, "Man, you're one badass vegan." And it just stuck. And I was like, I kind of like that. I don't know who that user is, or if they even remember saying it, but I definitely got to give them a little credit for sparking that idea.
So you mentioned you were 315 pounds when you were a youngster, a 13-year-old or something like that. So
yeah.
How does it happen that somebody, A, gets to that size at such a young age and then makes the switch to become the person you've turned into?
For me, it was just a lot of processed foods. It was just a lot of at one given time, my mom would have 10, 12 boxes of cereal sitting on top of the refrigerator. I've never had, before adulthood, I honestly had never had just vegetables without some kind of butter or some kind of, processed something involved with it. And she did the best she could. It's not like she was trying to do that to me, but yeah. And my mom is one hell of a baker. And when it came to cakes and cookies, she would throw down every Sunday. And it was just her and I in the house. And, when she wasn't there, by Tuesday, that cake that was supposed to last the whole week was probably gone at that point. So, and activity level as well. I was active as a kid. But, Little League sports is not the same as actual high school sports. So when I got to high school, I can't say that my eating really drastically changed, but my activity level just went through the roof. We were having 2-a-day football practices instead of, that 1-day practice where they just throw the football on the field and say, "Hey, kids, go have fun." So it was a little bit more determined. I did football, basketball, and track that year. And I really didn't make the track team because it's kind of hard to make a track team at like 300 pounds. But they let me run around the track. So I would just run and just, come that next summer, I just pretty much lost all the weight. And I wasn't into veganism yet, but it sparked my mind frame to just kind of take a look at what I was doing and what I was eating as well, and to transform my body even more.
So first you came to it from an athletics point of view, and that sparked the nutrition change. But what about all those high school students that are out there right now that are not interested in athletics, that are now overweight? Because we know that obesity is a huge epidemic. Yeah. How do we solve that problem if we have young kids, high school students, that are not interested in movement, so to speak, right, and are eating all this processed stuff? What do we say to those kids?
To those kids, it's about, look at your family, look at the elders in your family. mostly, especially from where I'm from, almost every family that I know has that person that's dying from this preventable illness, preventable, diseases. Look at that and let that be your motivation to see that you can change that now. And we also have those family members that are dying in their 30s and 40s from heart attacks. And, 18 is not that far away from 30, and that's what they fail to realize. At 18, you think you're invincible. And then what happens is you get to around 25 and you still having these complications and probably have more. So that's something to look at. Like, look at the future. Like, you want to be around. Like, let's say you don't want kids, because at 18, you're not thinking about kids. You're not thinking about marriage, but you're thinking about being here for a long time. And that longevity comes from what you do right now. That's what sets up the goals. Like, even if you're not an athlete or even if you're not in entertainment, everybody has some role model that they look at. And most of the time, those role models are in some kind of healthy shape or has some kind of lifestyle that you can see that they've worked hard to get there. And that's what you have to look at. That they've made some sacrifices, and it's going to take some sacrifices just to get, like, if you want to get into that college that you want to get into, even if you're going for academics, there's some sacrifices that have to be made. And the same thing goes for what you put in your body. We have to remember also that the body is the first machine that was ever made. In order for that machine to work, you got to have the right fuel in it. If you don't put the right fuel in it, it's going to break down just like any machine. You could have that top grade Ferrari. If you put in regular unleaded in it, eventually that Ferrari is not going to make it far. So it's just something for them to think about as a future.
So I think it's interesting because a lot of people have a difficult time looking so far into the future. They're always looking for that quick fix, that hack to make it happen right now. And you posted a video, I think it was even today, where you talked about it took 10 years to get to where these people are that were in the video that you were talking about. And It didn't happen overnight. It's a process. Yeah. And like anything that's worth doing, it takes time to get there. And people need to be patient and go through the process to get to where they want to be.
I think we're just in that day and age of the microwave button, man, and everybody wants it right now. We got the GoFundMe pages, like, hey, I got this idea right now. Let me go put out a GoFundMe page, and maybe somebody will pay for it. Instead of like, hey, let me save up for it. And I'm not knocking anybody that's doing it, but that's just the kind of day and age we live in, to where I got an idea, I want it now. I want to lose weight, I want it tomorrow. Like, it didn't take you one day to get overweight. So you have to think about it. It's going to take that amount of time to get back down. Or somebody that has that body, that goal that you're looking at, they didn't do that overnight, and they might not have done it in a year. You have to be able to look at your goal and be like, you know what? In 10 years, if I don't get that goal, would I still do it anyway? And that's what you have to look at. And it's hard for some people to see that, but once you find something that you're passionate about, all it takes is one result. One result is going to spark another result, and it just keeps you motivated.
So when you were 315 pounds at 13 years old, were you experiencing any kind of shaming from your peers or from your family, or was it just a normal thing?
I hit it pretty well because I was athletic. So nobody really, really looked at it as far as like, in fact, I have a lot of high school friends that I'm still friends with. And they're like, man, you were 315. I'm like, yeah, but they just didn't look at it because I was playing sports. I think if I would have been like non-athletic and just that overweight kid in school, I think it would have been way worse. I still got the ridicule, but I got it more from the athletes I was playing with instead of the whole school. The whole school was like, man, he could still play it. He could still do this. So I think that's where it kind of helped me out because, that's why outside of the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, I kind of stopped watching football a couple years ago. Because I just looked at how it really, really doesn't care about the player. Like, you have these linemen that they breed to be 400 pounds, and they don't look at the long-term effects. Because once you're out the league, they don't care about you. They're done. We're looking hard at the concussions that are happening, the brain injuries. But we're not looking at the other side. These people with heart disease and kidney failure. These people are like, they're literally retiring from the NFL before 30, and they're having complications for the rest of their life because now it's hard to cut that off at 30, 40 years old when you're 300, 400 pounds.
We're having John Gordon on the podcast coming up in a couple of weeks, and he speaks to a lot of professional teams, and he sees a lot of people who have that junk food diet and, you know, they're good on the court, but imagine how good they'd be if they were eating so much better, or, you know, how if their pounds were coming from potatoes as opposed to, you know, Big Macs, like what would that mean for them now, and what would that mean for them come retirement as well?
Yeah, it's just like what we said about the regular fuel in the Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine what you would get out of that Ferrari if you put the right fuel into it. You know, and it's just a big difference. And that's over longevity. Over the long run, look at what you're going to get.
So when you started working out, or when you started playing sports at a higher level, you said the pounds started to come off, or, you know, flab turned to muscle, and all of these different things. But at what point did it switch from this is just what's happening to a place of actual self-empowerment to be able to be part of something as big as P90X?
Man. So funny revelation for me was I refused to lift weights in high school. I had this thing. I remember my freshman year, we lifted weights one time, and I went to go shoot a basketball right after that, and I shot an air ball. And it was like the worst air ball ever. And I remember just the feeling of that. And I was like, oh my, it's got to be the weights. Like, I could never lift weights again. So I got to college, and my brother, he was actually much better than I was. And I always looked up to him, and he was the one that bred me to be this point guard. And he finally hit me with something that worked. He said, you know why you should work out? And I'm like, why? And this is my freshman in college. He was like, because girls dig it. And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah. He's like, pay attention to how, like, your teammates, how they look at your teammates, and it really, like, it was like a movie. I had like this flashback to like the gym, and I'm like, man, he got a point. So it kind of started from like a selfish reason, like a vain reason. And that's why I kind of take the approach I do with veganism now. If you notice, I'm always talking about the healthy side and how you can look and feel better, because I know that we don't like to talk about it, but that actually is a factor in the human's brain. It's not a factor in any other animal. They don't care. They don't care how vain they are. Not for anything, but if a dog loses a leg, what does it do? It crawls around on the floor. It still keeps going on the three legs. If that one leg's missing, it doesn't miss a beat. It's going to keep going. Humans, we miss something. We're like, oh my God, life is over. I lost a pinky, whatever it is. So we have to play to that vain side of us. So that's what got me into it. And I started feeling like amazing. There was a guy by the name of Archie McClendon. He's not vegan at all, but he was 6'2", around 190 and like 6% body fat. It was ridiculous. And he had like a 40-inch vertical. And he took me under his wing and let me start working out with him. And it was a wrap after that. And it was that empowerment. I felt so much stronger, not only on the court, but like I started standing more upright, it was so many things that just happened for me. My knees weren't hurting as much anymore. I noticed that if I did get bumped around, it wasn't as painful anymore. And you start to thrive off of that. And like today, like I said, doing the CrossFit thing, I'm definitely one of the oldest in the class. And they didn't even know I was 40 until probably about 4 weeks ago. And they're like, well, the only reason why you win is because you're so much younger than us. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm 40.
Don't be
and they're
fooled.
like, oh my God. And that's another reason why I do it too, is because I know the better shape I'm in, the more vibrant I am, the more youthful I feel and look, the better billboard it is for veganism, to show that like, hey, look, like, yeah, I'm walking around, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and people want to be around that and be a part of that. So that's another reason why I'm so adamant about the workout aspect.
Do you think that there's a difference in terms of your long-term goals before self-empowerment and after self-empowerment?
Yeah. Before, there were no long-term goals. It was just, I could just say it was the NBA or overseas playing ball. That's all it was. Since a kid, I just always wanted to play ball. And then, after the self-empowerment happened, it really was a flash. And it was just like, wow, I can do more. Even if this basketball thing doesn't work out, there's other avenues. There's life after basketball. And I saw that. And I can still help people. I'm probably helping more people than I would if I just would have went to done that original plan.
So we're talking self-empowerment, but really what we're talking about is a shift in the mindset. And I think that one of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now is that people are waiting until something tragic happens to them or someone in their family, someone they love, before they make a change. I know personally, I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, I was told that I'd be dead before the age of 40, and that's what made me click and change my entire life. And look where I am now, thriving at 43. So I guess the question is, how are we going to get people to wake up before it's too late and make changes in their lives and get them to self-empower, get them to change their mindset? How do we go about doing that?
I think it has to be a inviting atmosphere for them to want to join us, because I think right now it's a scary atmosphere. It's a scary atmosphere for a lot of reasons. One of them being, learned lessons that were embedded in them since childhood. I mean, like, my family owns like one of the #1 barbecue restaurants in Little Rock, Arkansas. So they think I'm nuts, but they're all on medication. But you know what I'm saying? So they think I'm nuts, but at the same time, they're like, man, I want to do it. It's just, but what about this? And what about that? And I try to think about before I went vegan, luckily for me, I didn't have too many embedded traditions. I just was like, I want to go vegan. I didn't think about anybody else's feelings. I didn't think about anybody else's reactions. I've talked to grown adults, 40-year-old men. They're like, man, if I go vegan, man, my mom will kill me. Like, literally. Like, so there's some things that are embedded in us that we don't understand, that it's okay. Like, your mom will not disown you if you don't. But traditionally, people think that they just can't do it.
I think what people need to realize, sorry to cut you off, is that if they do disown you, then there's more behind that anyway.
Exactly.
You've got problems beyond the food that you put in your mouth and the animals that you love. Like, there's other things going on.
I think I said it didn't. Remember the lady asked me when I was speaking in Toronto, and I think you were in there. Did you make it to my speech? I think you did. No?
Adam's overlapped with yours.
My talk overlapped with you, so yeah, I couldn't make it in.
The lady asked me, like, what do I do? Because my significant other, he wants meat and this and that. I'm like, okay, well, you be straight up with him and tell him, hey, look, I'm sorry, honey, I love you to death, but I can't prepare nor buy any of that stuff anymore because emotionally, I just can't handle it. I love you. If that's what you want to do, that's your thing. I can't be a part of that. And I said, if they honestly look at you, break yourself down to them and give yourself totally to them and still can laugh and be like, well, whatever, I'm doing this anyway, you got your answer right there. Because that's not going to change a year down the line. They're letting you know right now, if you can open up and tell them like, hey, it really does bother me. I can't do that. Now, if that person's like, oh my God, honey, I totally understand, then maybe you got something to work with. But like you said, if they let you know right then that your feelings are not important or what you're doing is not important, then you gotta learn, like Kenny Rogers said, you gotta know when to fold them, know when to hold them. You gotta let some people go. Like, and I got family members now, like I'm talking like immediate, that I haven't talked to 10, 12 years. No sweat off my back. I don't hate them. I don't want anything to happen to them. But you got to know when somebody's good for you and somebody's cancerous to you. And I'm big on that.
And funnily enough, I end up looking at my calendar every Sunday afternoon and see who's booked a call, who wants to start, getting that nutrition help, changing their life. And all of these people from my past, not that we had anything out, but all of these people from my past who thought I was crazy, who said, I can never do what you do, I can never be part of that lifestyle. All of a sudden they're creeping up and they're like, okay, I'm ready for the help now. And people who I never expected to show up on my calendar.
And that's the thing. We're not saying that I'm cutting ties for the rest of my life, but right now it's just not working out. And I'm not saying just because somebody's a meat eater. I have lots of friends that are meat eaters. I also am a big believer in I can't influence the world if I'm only around me. Like, and I think a lot of us, we do that. Oh, man, they're not vegan. How can you talk to them? Like, no, it's not like that. Like, how can you ever expect to influence the world if you're not hanging around them? I'm just saying if that person is a complete negative person, then no, I won't be around that. But, yeah, eventually people come around. It takes some time, but they do come around.
Enough with the energy drinks, gels, and beans that are loaded with unwanted ingredients. Energy Bits are a more effective, nutritionally dense source of mental and physical energy that will not cause stress on your stomach. Energy Bits are tiny tablets of algae, a sustainable eco-friendly crop so nutritionally dense it eliminates fatigue and hunger instantly. Want a healthy, natural way to fuel your game or fire up your brain? Energy Bits are for you. No caffeine, sugar, chemicals, gluten, or soy, just pure plant-based nutrition. 1 ingredient, 1 calorie, 0 net carbs. Improve your energy, wellness, and waistline all at the same time with Bits. I use Energy Bits before workouts or sometimes just as a snack. They make me feel great and give me that extra energy boost I'm sometimes looking for. I use Recovery Bits, which are tiny chlorella tabs, after workouts or when I'm feeling hungry late at night. Visit energybits.com to order Energy Bits, Recovery Bits, Vitality Bits, or Skinny Bits, and use the promo code PLANTTRAINERS at checkout to get 20% off your order.
So having this mindset and this empowerment, or whatever it is that we're going to call it, or the guts or the balls to stand up to your significant other or what have you, do you think it's innate? Do you think it's something that needs to be like ingrained in you from a young age, or can you just gather up this muster and make it happen for you?
You can gather it. It's just that it comes down to a lot of things. I think we all have it. It's just having the will to actually use it. We have a lot of things within us that we never use. We have the ability to be a marathon runner if we want to, at whatever age. We have the ability to be a scientist. We can cut off right now. If we wanted to go learn to be a scientist, we could do it. It's just having the balls, like you said, like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody says. That's one of the biggest things wrong with us. We look for approval too much. Everything we want to do is something has to be approved. Man, I would go vegan, but I mean, where would I go eat? And I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, we got to go to this certain restaurant for me, or like people want approval. Once we drop that approval, we're good to go.
Yeah, and people could do anything they want to do. They just have to make the choice and go in that direction. And it's not going to be easy. Nothing worth doing is easy, right? It's a process, and there's lots of support out there for people to do whatever they want to do. They just need to be willing to make that change.
Yeah. And the biggest problem is that things that we think are important are things that are pushed on us. School, like we wouldn't go to school if nobody, like, think about it, as a kid, what kid would wake up like, all right, I'm gonna go to school instead of stay home? It's pushed on us. Education's pushed on us. So we're like, oh, it's important. And we get to that point where we want to go to college. Like, our health is never pushed on us. So we never think about that until it's too late. Because we look at mom and dad. Mom and dad is still eating the same thing as us. So we're going to keep doing it. And then when mom and dad might pass away of a certain disease, we think it's hereditary instead of a lifestyle choice. And we don't realize that we could probably cut off that same disease if we stop acting a certain way. So a lot of it is just, if it's pushed on as a kid, like when I do meet healthy kids and and the kids are talking like, oh my God, like, yeah, my mom made me eat this certain way since I was a kid. Like, I know a guy, I used to work with him at Nova Southeastern University, and we used to have cake every week. There was somebody's birthday every week, and they always had cake. And he would never go get the cake. And I'm like, dude, you're missing out. Like, I was just vegetarian at the time. I'm like, man, you're missing out, man. He's like, no, I don't do like baked goods. I was like, what, really? And he was raised in Costa Rica. He said, well, my dad, whenever we had a sweet tooth or we wanted something sweet, he would just go pick a mango or a piece of fruit, and he would give us that. And he was like, so I never really got a taste for sweet items. I was like, man, like, I was thinking about my life growing up, how different it would have been if, instead of, all the packaged sugar and all that, if my mom would have just gave me a piece of fruit, not in the syrup, like a piece of fruit, like just, how different the world would be if that would be the case.
I think we've got to do an informal social study based on our kids as your daughter gets older and all these other kids who are being raised plant-based, who are being raised to put their health first and compassion for others and compassion for the world, and see what changes they're able to make in the world for other people, but how their health differs from their peers' health growing up. Because I mean, our kids go to school and yeah, our kids eat cupcakes and, you know, all vegan, right? Like they'll eat cupcakes, they'll have chips from time to time. And in the house, we don't have cupcakes or chips. We'll have pretzels or crackers or something like that. But they will come home and say, what can I have for snack? And we'll say, well, what do you want? And sometimes it might be pretzels, but a lot of times it's, I want a smoothie, or can you cut me an apple, or can I have a banana with almond butter, peanut butter, or something like that. And these choices that they're making, and again, like that's not necessarily innate. Clearly I wouldn't say pushed it on them, but that's what we've exposed them to. So that's what they know. But at the same time, it is going back to our innate tastes. Like we're not born with the taste for cupcakes. We're born with the taste for breast milk.
Okay, but hold on. We are pushing it on our kids. And that's called parenting.
Well,
right?
Okay, but I wouldn't say that we're pushing it on our kids.
No,
it's just how we're living our life.
We're being proper parents and teaching our kids how to raise themselves to be healthy by eating the food that we're providing for them. They're not at an age yet where they're going to make their own decisions, but we're setting them up as parents for when they do make those decisions, they're going to be educated in a way to be able to make good choices. And I think that, John, what you said before about health, it's not a priority and we take it for granted. A lot of people take our health for granted, right? And if this was, you know, if you made a list of what the most important things in the world are to people, what would they say? They'd say money. Money.
Yeah.
Right?
They might put family first.
Yeah. Well, somebody might say money, then like God, and you know, like throw that in there. You know, it's just. But it's funny, like going back to what you said earlier as well. Like people they're not proactive; they're reactive. As soon, you know, think about it this way: how many people do you hear say all the time, "We gotta die anyway"?
Yeah, I may as well do it having fun, right?
If you go to all these hospitals where people are on their deathbed, what do they say? Man, I wish I would have changed this. I wish I would have just changed this one thing. You know, I just wish I would have listened. It's totally different. It's like I said, at 18, you feel invincible. When you're laying on that deathbed, changes. You know, like and like they say, shit gets real. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here, but you can keep that out later on. But when it gets real, things start to come into perspective, and you really have to like take a step back. But my thing is, why wait for that? Like, I don't want to wait for that. You know, like if I literally know it's preventable, literally, like, and I hear a lot of meat eaters be like, man, you're going to outlive me for sure. They say, they literally say it like, oh man, you're going to live forever. Like, oh man, you're going to outlive us. Oh my God, like this and that. Like, and so they can see it. It's just this fear in there that they can't get over.
Right. I can never do that. I can never do what you're doing.
But I flip it around and say, but I know what effects this has on my body, what effects it'll have on my life, what it will mean for my children to lose parents early, what it will mean for my parents to lose their children before I lose them. And how can I not make the right choice? How can I put myself in that place? I mean, if you've had too much to drink, you just don't get behind the wheel. When you put your kid in the car, you don't not buckle them up. You buckle them up. Like, I don't see it as any different.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like, and what I've told the parents is there's one thing for a child to lose a parent over an accident, but how much do you think your child is literally going to hate you if they knew you could prevent this and you still didn't change? And that's hard. Like, that hits a parent hard. Like, to know, like, I'm dead, but my child hates me because he knew I could change. And I was like, I'm not changing because this steak tastes too good. Yeah, I got high cholesterol, but I'd rather take this pill, which actually isn't going to do anything but mask the actual effects of the high cholesterol. It doesn't do anything but put masking tape on it. And then I have to take another pill because it's going to have side effects. And then I'm taking this whole cocktail, and I'm still probably going to pass away because.
And before you know it, you have a heart attack from all the medication you're taking, not even from the cholesterol.
Exactly. You know, when I could have just eliminated what gave me the cholesterol.
So if you need to go and rethink your life, or if somebody out there is sharing this podcast with somebody else who needs to change their life, but they just haven't had that empowerment yet, they don't have that mindset yet, what can you offer to them? Where do you go to regain that sense of control over your own life and make the decisions that you need to make?
I mean, in all honesty, I don't do it anymore. I had this weird fascination. I would go to the hospital. I would just go to the hospital. I've literally sat in waiting rooms in hospitals and just talk to people like, hey, what's going on? Why are you here? Oh, I got this going on, la, 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 this. And you would hear stories and you're like, and being where you're at in a certain sense, I would say in today's age, if you don't know about something, I'm not saying you have to be a pro. I'm not saying doctors are not knowledgeable and not needed, but you should at least have a base of knowing a lot of things. In today's age, when you can literally find information at any point, for you not to do that, that is totally upon you, to be completely ignorant, to not know about your body, to not know about things that can happen to your body, about not knowing about eating certain things, what it does to your body, lack of activity, what it does to your body. And the reason why I'm not saying what these things do, because I want people to actually go do the research. So I don't want them to have like a preconceived notion. I want you to go do research, like see what it does. And then when people tell you what's wrong with them, you're like, wait a minute, but that's preventable. And then when you start hearing that that's preventable, but this person has it and 70% of the country has it, like I hear all the time. So this is a good message for the people in a short sense. So a lot of people say that, well, vegan is the most unhealthy thing you can do. If in all honesty, and I'm sure you've heard it too, vegan, that's unhealthy, la, la, la. If the population of the world, only 3% of it is vegan and 50% of the world gets cancer, just do the math. Like that doesn't even add up for us being the ones that fill up the hospital. And the name of my speech is always vegans aren't filling up the hospitals. We're not. Nobody's coming in because they had too much damn salad that day. Like they had a heart attack because they had a couple oranges. That's not what's going on. It's really like just do the math. If so many of these diseases are happening, and 3% of the world is not ingesting the things that are promoting that kind of disease or ailment, then just step back and just really take a step back and really, really look at what you're doing in your life and know that you can change. Know that you don't have to stay the same because you've done it for 40, 50 years. I know a guy here, Raul, that owns a vegan restaurant by the name of Green Wave. Shameless plug for him, I guess. But he had stage 4 prostate cancer. Never had chemo, never had surgery, literally went on a raw food. It's been about, I think, 16 years now. Never had a reoccurrence or anything. And it's just to think about that.
Let's just make it known that we're talking about more of a healthy vegan diet, more of a whole foods diet, not Jolly Ranchers and Skittles.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. And the only concern that I have is when people go to the internet and they do this research, they're going to come up with all kinds of different things. They're going to find the ketogenic diet. They're going to find the paleo, the vegan. They're going to find a whole wealth of information that's going to completely confuse them. And I'm sure you see this when you do CrossFit. There's a bunch of people doing the paleo thing and they think that's healthy. Yeah. So how are people going to really be able to differentiate and understand what's going to get them to a healthier place?
My biggest thing is take emotion out of it. No emotion. Knowledge is not emotional. Knowledge has nothing to do with how you feel in the morning. It doesn't care about, what time of day it is when you read it. Knowledge and information is there. And I always tell people, not to go into religion, but I'm like, hey, if you're against the religion, read that book. You know what I'm saying? You might find a lot of similarities, and what your religion actually is right along with that. It's the same thing with this eating. If you I would never go back to eating meat. I don't care what they tell me. I know I don't need it, but I always read up on it. So when I am having a debate with somebody, I know where they're coming from. And I can also gauge my rebuttal according to what they're telling me and according to what I've already read. Because there's a lot of things, too. You got to look at the source of the information. If the meat industry is like, hey, we conducted this survey on how good meat is. Well, shit, there you go. Even the World Health Organization, it's not a vegan organization, but they have both realms on there. They have the pro-vegan, they have the pro-meat. So there's some things where you can read on there that's both ways. But also sometimes you just got to step away from, just what everybody's saying and do your own perspective. Like, what am I seeing right now? Am I seeing my family members going to the hospital? Am I seeing, all these people that I know that are passing away, not from gunshot wounds, not from, falling off a cliff, like literally, and I was talking to him yesterday and he had a stroke, you know what I'm saying, at 30 something. Like, what do we, like, that's what we have to do. Like, forget all the media, forget all, like, what is really going on right in front of your face. And I think if we did that more, we would see that, okay, there is something to what the crazy vegans are over there saying. What they look at us as like being crazy, and what we're saying, like, no, there is some validity to what we're saying. I think that it's just going to take some time. And as long as they get rid of the emotion and the attachment, you can learn a lot more without emotion and attachment.
So let's move on and take that idea and say, how are we going to spread this message to more people? How are you going to help spread this message to kind of an untapped area, let's call it, with your new documentary that's coming up soon, Hip-Hop. How do you say it?
Hip-Hopocrates. So
Hip-Hopocrates, yeah.
Hip-hop. But the thing with that name is that within the vegan community, Hippocrates is like almighty almost. Like, hey, I know Hippocrates. But outside of that, not everybody, especially the ones we're trying to reach with this documentary, are that accustomed to who Hippocrates is. So I was talking to Keegan, and we got a couple ideas. It's between two more names now. One is They Want You Dead, which is just flat out what the case is. Or the latter side is They Want You Sick, because in actuality, they want you sick because there's more money in sickness than it is death. Mm-hmm. If they kill you, they can't keep you to keep paying all the money for the drugs and all the other things. But if we keep you sick, now we can keep you around more, and you just keep spending money. So it's actually between those two right now. They want you sick or they want you dead. And it's kind of an ear-catching title where you just want to see what that's talking about anyway.
Or they want you sick and not quite dead.
Yeah.
And so
just get you a little off.
So there's so many documentaries out now. What's going to be the difference, and what angle are you taking on this one?
Well, we're diving into food deserts, food injustice is going to be a big thing. Talking about the fact that you can go to Beverly Hills and you'll never see a McDonald's there. You won't see a liquor store sitting in Beverly Hills. But people don't think about that. And the people that support these businesses are pissed that the businesses are in their neighborhood, but they spend their money there without thinking about it. And, I always point out that, you go to certain stores and they're like, hey, I'm sorry, what's your zip code? That's because they're trying to see where their money is coming from. Because even if you don't give your zip code to that company, they run tests. They still going to find out where you came from. And let's say you go a couple of more blocks, a couple of more neighborhoods outside of your own neighborhood to spend that money at a grocery store rather than that corner liquor store. Those grocery stores are going to see that. And that's why we see stores popping up all the time, because they're doing these demographic analysis. They're seeing where their money's coming from, and they're popping up there. So the more money we spend in these grocery stores, as much as some people hate, certain name grocery stores or things of that nature, those grocery stores are needed in those neighborhoods or closer to those neighborhoods. And then it becomes a battle, because once one grocery store gets closer, the other one's like, well, I can just build one a little bit closer to the neighborhood. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show them that your dollar actually has power. And that's kind of what I talked about last night. I basically said, you can't blame the food industry for what's in your refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? The food industry's messed up. It is. But nobody's forcing you to put that in the refrigerator. And we have to come to that sense and realize it. And another difference of my documentary is that, I tell a lot of people, I grew up in Ferguson, Missouri, where Mike Brown was killed. We didn't have the best of, I wasn't living in Beverly Hills, nothing like that at all. And, it can be a food desert at certain angles, or depending on what part of the neighborhood you live in. And so hip hop was like a big savior in my life, being overweight, I would listen to music, it would get me over. And I think that's for everybody, because hip hop is the most influential genre there is out there. You can go to a hockey game and still hear a hip hop song now. And that's huge, to hear that. And so what we're doing is we're actually talking to the hip hop and R&B artists that are vegan now in the industry and talking to them why they went vegan, why they think other people should go vegan, what impacts they would think it would have if more people went vegan. We've locked down quite a few amazing names already. Russell Simmons agreed to be the executive producer, so we got that. I just talked to Jermaine Dupree, waiting to hear back from him. We talked to Maya, she's already agreed. Waka Flocka, I believe he's already agreed. So we just got a great list of people waiting to hear back from KRS-One. There's just so many great names that people listen to, and they want to hear more about their story. They want to know why they went vegan and understand that, like, it's not all about, it is about the animals, don't get me wrong, but it's also about when you tell somebody that a system is basically out to say F you, there's something that comes along with that. People, they will take a lot of stuff, but when you really find out that somebody is like, hey, F you, whatever, just give us your money. We're trying to kill you, but you're going to pay us anyway. Things change. I mean, let's look at what's going on with the NFL. Let's look at what's going on with all these kind of things. When people are fed up, things change. And that's what we're trying to do, is like kind of pull the veil back, pull the curtain back from the Wizard of Oz and let them see, like, look, it's not this powerful being over here. It's just somebody sitting behind there with some control buttons, and they're trying to control you. And that's pretty much what it is. So we're really gonna piss some people off, but we're gonna piss them off with awareness. So that's what it's all about.
Piss away.
Yeah. That's a good shirt.
I love that. That's a great message, an important one for everyone to hear and see. Any idea when that's going to be coming out?
Well, our goal was to start filming in January. So from January to January, do a lot of filming, because it's going to take a little bit longer because of all the different places that these people may be at.
Sure.
And then editing will be around 6 months, and we're hoping to have it out by like August of 19.
Cool.
And we've even got some doctors. So we're hitting it all. We got doctors. I've even talked to some economists, like talking about it all, like how they target certain demographics and where they're going to put these stores and where they're going to put these restaurants. And we're really trying to just, like I said, just pull the curtain back and let them see this is what they're doing. Now, it's up to you to support it. Now that it's up to you if you just still want to support that.
And just so the listeners know, Keegan is the one that put out What the Health and Cowspiracy as well. So this is kind of the next project.
Yeah.
Very cool, John. Really, really appreciate your time spending with us. You're such an inspirational guy. It was really cool to hang out with you and meet you. Love the t-shirts that you got out there, your Drop the Beats and some of the other ones. Where can people go to find you, find your shirts, hear you speak? Where do they get all that information from?
Badassvegan.com. I'm all on there. I do need to update the calendar more, but if you check out my Instagram, which is under Badass Vegan as well, I'm always posting. I like to post a month in advance of everything I'm doing that month, because I think people get overwhelmed with, like if you start posting in January what you're doing in August, it's just by the time August comes around, they're like, oh man, I forgot all about that. So I try to do it like a month out and to let people know what I got going on. And also Facebook, I have a page too, Badass Vegan. So, and Twitter and Snapchat. It's all Badass Vegan. I kept it uniform so I don't get confused, and then that way nobody else gets confused too.
So we'll link to all that in our show notes. Our kids love the fact that they could say badass in our house.
They say it on purpose. They do it on purpose. They're like, have you seen Badass lately? And they're like, I said ass.
So you also have another product, your shake or your smoothie. You want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, VeganSmart's been around for about 3.5, almost 4 years now. We've been doing real well. Here in America, we have it in Whole Foods, CVS, Vitamin Shop, working on Costco and GNC as well. Looking to get it up in Canada as soon as possible. Because the good thing is I know I have a buzz up there for it from all the samples that we gave out, and people love it. So we just got to get it up there. Whatever steps it takes, we got to get it up there. So
bring it on.
Hopefully soon it'll be there, and it'll be all around the same way it is here.
Sounds great. Again, thank you so much for your time today. Give a little hug to your little daughter for us.
I know she's not even here. I would have brought her in, but she's out with mom. It's Sunday. Oh. And grandma's in town too, so it's like ladies, they went to go get their nails done, all kinds of stuff, no telling. So it's actually kind of quiet around here.
So go enjoy some of that quiet time, and we really appreciate your time and everything that you're doing. So thank you so much. And we look forward to hanging out with you and having some Indian food again.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, the balls.
The balls, yeah.
If we can find a picture we definitely got to post that picture so they understand about the balls.
I made a reference somewhere in the show there.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast listening platforms. We appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it ensures other people will find us too. Thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference. Connect and follow us on Instagram and Twitter @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at www.planttrainers.com for awesome plant-based recipes and a list of our services. Email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so we can answer them on our upcoming Facebook Lives. We hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day.